Hello everyone, good afternoon to you all. So before I start with the class today, I'd like to share a link with you. It's a news article published in the Economic Times. So I want you to go through it once and then share your thoughts with me. You have around 10 minutes for this. Can you please confirm if you got my message right now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, sir.
Hello, sir. Can you repeat what you just said? It was not audible quite clearly.
I have shared a link with you all. So it's a news article published in the Economic Times. It says whether electric cars are really that eco-friendly as we usually think. There is an article about it. So I want you to go through it and share your thoughts with me.
Okay, sir. Sir?
Yes, tell me.
No, sir, not about that. I wanted to ask something different. That, sir, last time you gave us that flow chart, that task.
Yeah,
Sir, that we have to make like handwritten or it's
it's
like
it's
PPT.
already there on Google Classroom. You have to make a PPT. In a
Okay.
PPT, you will make the flowchart. You don't have to draw it in hand,
Okay.
on hand. Okay.
So I'd like to share my thoughts.
Yes, are you saying anything?
So I'm saying I'd like to share my thoughts on that
Yeah,
article.
sure. Tell me.
So in that article, they talked about like even if you have an electric car, it has to be charged through renewable sources so that the electricity you're getting is not having any carbon emissions. So let's even assume that is the case, that we still are using electrical power grids which are consuming carbon. So even in that case, gasoline cars have like 25% efficiency. Compared to that, you have like let's say electric cars, they can have up to 65% efficiency, which is way better in terms of energy use. So I'd say even in that scenario, we are still better off.
So you are talking about the efficiency of cars.
Yeah, because the amount of energy you're providing to the car would be still used to a larger extent. So even
Oh.
if it is from like let's say you gave it 100 watt hours of energy, so like still you'll use most of it. And in case of a gasoline car, you'd still use like very minor amount of what you're providing.
So what you are trying to say, for a certain length, for per unit distance traveled, what is the amount of energy needed by an electric car and what is the amount of energy needed by a gasoline car? If that is
Yeah,
compared, then electric car requires more compared
no,
to
it
gasoline car.
as in like the amount of energy you're providing it will use
Yeah,
most of it. That's
yes,
what I'm
understood.
saying
So input is
compared to
more in case of electric vehicle because it's still rudimentary. I can still call it rudimentary. Yeah, this is one point, obviously. Uh,
And so
but the
secondly,
articles,
if you take the company Tesla, all of their charging stations, they are all solar powered. So, in that, even in that case, and not only that, they have the charging stations all over the country, like just talking about specifically America and some countries in Europe. So you can like literally travel anywhere and all your energy would be clean.
yeah, so it's basically renewable, first of all, and the way this electricity is generated is not polluting the environment because it's solar energy. That is not the case for many countries like Serbia and Croatia and all those countries that is mentioned in this article. So yes, anyone else who would like to say anything, add to these points?
So what about that carbon emission?
Yeah, carbon emission is the issue here. We know electricity is a clean energy, but how we generate electricity may not be that clean. This is the summary of this article. When an electric vehicle runs, it doesn't pollute the environment. That is absolutely true. But the way this electricity is generated, whether if that pollutes the environment, then uh, there is an indirect pollution anyway. Okay, you are not avoiding it. So countries like Switzerland,
And on a much greater scale, I presume.
it could be. It could be
So
because
once there's a bright side and the other side is like way more darker than we
yeah,
expected it to be.
yeah. So looking into the full picture is important. We just should not get carried away by the term electric vehicle. So in India, what is the scenario? You can see that in that article, nothing is mentioned about India. We do not have that much data also, but even if we have, that is not yet analyzed in that manner. So see, this is kind of a, you could take up a small project also. For your own curiosity, this subject doesn't mandate you to go for such kind of project. But if you really have this curiosity, forget about the project. At least you can try to know when countries like let's say we pick up some names. Switzerland has 100% carbon savings because if it doesn't use gasoline, there is no other way. If they are replacing gasoline vehicles by EV, they are directly replacing the carbon emission. Such is not the case for other. So if Norway says 98% carbon savings, it means there are some power plants which are emitting greenhouse gases. So maybe you are drawing your electricity from those power plants. And so there is a 2% chance that you are still going to emit greenhouse gases. So what is this percentage for India? Can we find that out? Is that even possible? What kind of data do we need? Which kind of data is missing you can look into this kind of things. So you will really know that this gimmick of converting, say for example, I'll just give you one story here, small hypothetical story here. The government keeps on telling that हमको EV चाहिए, EV is better. लेकिन nobody will talk about where this electricity is coming. So these, a conscious citizen will ask this question also, that it's okay, we need EV. You are reducing taxes on electric vehicles and you are imposing more taxes on petrol vehicles. But what are you going to do about replacing the whole Coal India Limited into something else? We don't want to use any more coal, or we need to phase out coal usage with time. If you have noticed, then the target set by India to become carbon neutral is much larger than many other countries. That's because we are not so easily able to replace our high power demand by renewable resources and clean energies. So what can be done about it? So you can look it up on the internet if you can find some information. First of all, what you have to do is you have to look into how this percentage actually came up. Can you find out any source? And if you can find the source, if you can find the methodology, you can then try to do such calculation for India. This is just something, if you have interest, you can. Nothing compulsion, no compulsion is here. Okay, so that, and then only you will get the real picture. What exactly you can do? I mean, what exactly is the scenario? We're thinking of working on engines that can run at higher amount of ethanol, the lower amount of crude oil as compared to today's fuel. Okay, nice. So ethanol is like EV. You are trying to replace crude oil with something else. So then again, ethanol, is that really, uh, you know, the exact term I'm not getting. Uh, is it a clean energy? That's the term. Is ethanol a clean energy? Source of clean energy? That also something that has to be looked into. So your tutorial 2 was also, I mean, it's okay, that is okay, but how is ethanol produced? That is the question. Does the production itself causes pollution? So your tutorial 2 was relating to that. Uh, say for example, plastic use kam karo. Let us all do one thing, stop using pens and start using pencils. Let's say hypothetically it's possible. I know it's a stupid idea, but let's just imagine we can replace. But can you say that now that your plastic usage has reduced, you have all started to use pencils? Have you really helped the environment? What do you think? Or maybe
No, sir.
let me
I
rephrase the
mean,
question
pencil
in this way.
uses wood, so
Yeah. So indirectly you are going to harm the environment. So
so development and not to harm environment can go handy.
it's a very difficult task. That's why we have all this struggle. If it were so easy and economical, even the most greedy people would have, but the greedy companies would also have taken up this idea, and
Yeah,
they would
and
have,
psychological too.
yeah, it's also psychological because you need to have that mentality, then only you are going to try. And when you are going to try, then only you will come up with solution. It's not so easy to replace uh, unclean energy with clean energy. Why do you think plastic became so popular? Because it was easy to produce, it was less costly. There was a time when if you used to buy those Complan and Bonvita, it always used to come in uh, glass bottles. During our times, it was always glass jars. Okay, we cannot call it bottles. Let's call it jar. But nowadays, it's all plastic. Why is that so? Because it's cheaper. It doesn't break. The transportation is easy. Manufacturing is easy, and it's more durable. So why not go for plastic? So plastic gives us so many advantage. Let's forget greenhouse gas emission and soil pollution, etc. It gives us so much advantage that everyone goes for plastic. Now that there is climate change and all these issues have come up, now some of us are forced to think of some alternatives. But companies are still, they are the first person who will get grumpy when you will ask them to replace plastic with something else. They will say that इतना easily हम लोगों का काम हो रहा है, क्या को दिमाग खराब कर रहे हो? And they have the logic behind it. So we have to find out solution which is economical as well, which is also uh, durable like plastic. So what can we do? A lot of research is going on in these kind of things. Material science is actually popular in that because of all these things. Anyway, so these are some things I wanted to share with you. Let's now begin with our theories. Can't avoid it. We'll learn about it. So what else do we have? Uh, I think I was talking about multidisciplinary nature of environment. कहाँ तक पढ़ाई हुआ था? I hope you can see the screen now.
Yeah.
These things are over. Composition is over. Yes. Weight of the atmosphere. This is what we were discussing. So next we have structure of atmosphere. So we have four parts: troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, and thermosphere. Exosphere is where satellites are present. This is not up to scale. Okay, this is not up to scale. If this is 20, then this is obviously not 50. 50 is much more. So it's not up to scale. Yes. Hello. So this is not up to scale. Basically, atmosphere is divided into these four parts. Exosphere, if it is included, then it becomes 5 parts. Vishwesh Rajput has given a message. Hyundai has come up with a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle having which is ready for purchase. The fuel cells act as batteries for electric motors instead of internal combustion. Okay. So the car would be running without emission as well as fuel import. That is hydrogen is clean. Okay, great. Now this is the first step. The first issue that will come up is it's expensive. And so very few people will be able to buy. But it's a start. It's a good start. Mm, So another question that comes to my mind is why did these people go for hydrogen fuel cell? Everybody is talking about EV. Why didn't they try EV? How is hydrogen fuel cell better than EV?
So
Obviously, it
because
has
of
some
hydrogen economy.
hydrogen is economical compared to electricity. Is that what you were trying to say? I mean,
So what
I don't know.
hydrogen is
I'm
challenge,
asking
like,
you.
is highly flammable, about one-sided.
Hydrogen gives more energy is okay. What about money?
Not economically. I don't think so.
Sir,
Per kilometer.
I think economically.
Okay, this is something I'm not sure about. Well, it has to be. We have to look into it. Who said it's more economic? Devanshu? Is, is that you or Vishwesh? Roll number 76. You people can write your names also on your profile. Then only your name will come up along with your roll numbers. Some of you do not have it. Have your names displayed over there. Roll number 76 is it's costly. High calorific value is something else. I mean, I think it means the amount of energy that you get per unit weight of the substance. That is all about convenience. It's about convenience. बार बार refuel करने की जरूरत होगी नहीं. एक बार करोगे तो बहुत time चलेगा. That that gives you like hydrogen gives more energy and high calorific value is all about it. But if you talk about money, per kilometer of travel, how much money is required in uh, in buying fuel? That is a question uh, which is asked by everyone before buying an unconventional vehicle. The competition is over there. Okay? The competition is over there. So Tesla and all those big companies, Hyundai and all, they are fighting for it. Probably this hydrogen fuel cell has some edge over electric vehicle in this regard. Maybe, maybe not. This is something you can look it up and you can share with all of us. Okay. Next, so structure of atmosphere. You know that atmosphere and pressure. This is what we were discussing here. The weight part. So atmospheric pressure decreases with height. Why do you? What could be the reason? Can you say? In short, as you go higher, pressure reduces. Why is that so? Because the
That is
weight of
because you
air
will have
above you
lesser air above
reduces.
Thinner air,
your
thinner air.
Yeah, thinner air, weight of the air actually reduces.
Yeah.
Yeah, amount of air decreases. So that is why the pressure reduces as you go higher. Okay. Uh, Atmosphere and temperature. So temperature keeps dropping actually, but just a minute. So this graph tells you about the temperature. So as you go higher, you can find the temperature from here. So what's the temperature at 20 kilometer? So it is minus 60 degrees Celsius, 20 kilometer above. If you go even higher, like 30, then the temperature is around minus 30. If you go to a height of 50, temperature is 0. So this is how you can understand. So it's a graph.
Sir, according to this graph, mesosphere is the coldest region, right?
Exosphere. No,
Mesosphere, mesos.
mesosphere.
And
Yeah, mesosphere is the uh, mesosphere, the upper part of mesosphere and the lower part of thermosphere is the coldest. But as you go higher, you go above 100 kilometer,
exosphere is the hottest, I think.
hottest. Yeah, because you don't have any cushion of the. Actually, you don't have the atmosphere itself, so that is why it becomes very hot. This is one reason.
Yes.
The clouds are up till how much is it? Around 8 kilometers, 8 to 9 kilometers. Clouds are available. Above it, there is no cloud. So
So
that's
why
the
is there
scenario.
so much fluctuation on the temperature? I thought it would be like something like a linear graph.
I can hear you. 28. Okay. Atmospheric structure, the same thing is mentioned here also. Troposphere 0 to 11 kilometer is has a temperature of this range. Stratosphere has a temperature of this range. Mesosphere has a temperature of this range, and thermosphere has a temperature of this range. Okay. Just a minute. So I just looked up something that highest space jump to the Earth, okay, that people have taken up is highest is 41 kilometer. That happened in 2014 by Alan Eustace. Share the screen with you. So this thought just came up, so I just looked into it. 41 kilometers. So what was the temperature at that height? Temperature is okay. It's not that cold. See, 40 kilometers is close to zero. So the guy won't freeze to death. But as he comes down, he will be at a location where temperature is uh, less than -50. But then again, there are places on Earth like Siachen Glacier and all where temperature goes down, goes below -40. So this is something people can handle. So if he has the proper suit, he will be able to survive that. That is the highest jump that someone made. Anyway, I was just wondering, is it really possible for a person to be in this zone uh, all by himself or herself without being inside a vehicle, space vehicle or something? So that is actually possible. It's not something which is impossible. Anyway, back to our topic. So the components of environment are a few. One of them is atmosphere, and we're talking about it. So you can see that there is change in temperature with height. The temperature keeps changing. In the positive lapse rate means in this layer, temperature decreases with increasing altitude. So as you go higher, temperature decreases. Positive lapse. So it will be this part. So as you go higher, temperature decreases. And this is negative lapse. Okay? This zone is called negative lapse. As you go higher, your temperature keeps increasing. Okay? Troposphere. So these are the parts of the atmosphere. This is troposphere, this is stratosphere, this is thermosphere. Okay, I missed this. Sorry, this is mesosphere, and then you have thermosphere. Just take a few screenshots and go through them by yourself. Take these 4 screenshots, just go through the points. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me know if you have anything to ask. These are just points for you to know. Nothing tricky. Okay, here is a question given by roll number 28 that so much fluctuation in temperature as we go higher. What's the reason behind it? So there are multiple reasons because sometimes it decreases, sometimes it increases, and every time it has got different reasons. But if we just talk about the first part, only about the troposphere, you can see that as we go higher, temperature decreases. So can anyone give me the reason for that? Because of presence of different gases in different layers. Number 54. No, that is not the reason. A mix of gas is present everywhere at all layers. But the thing is, why does temperature decrease then? Anyone else? Can anyone else tell me? Tell us, share your thoughts. Why temperature decreases as we go higher? We are only talking about the troposphere. All of you can participate in the discussion.
Sir, as the pressure decreases, the temperature also decreases.
Wait a second, I'm not able to hear. Can you repeat that?
Sir, I'm saying as the pressure decreases, so does the temperature, because like you'll have lesser number of particles in the same amount of space. That would decrease temperature for obvious reasons.
केमिस्ट्री याद है कौन सा
हाँ,
लॉ
sir.
था ये बताओ
I don't remember the law. I just remember the equation PV is an RT. So if you drop the temperature, drop the pressure, you will drop the temperature.
Yeah,
I don't know which scientist gave that law.
P is directly proportional to T.
Yeah.
If your pressure decreases, then your temperature will decrease. That's the logic here. And the reason behind it is that's correctly explained by you. When your pressure is less, the density of air is less. So the amount of matter per unit volume is less. So the particle itself, when heats up, will make the surrounding hot, right? So if you do not have that much particle, then it will obviously be cold. So that's how it is. With a decrease in pressure, your particle decreases and so your temperature also decreases. So that's the reason in troposphere. Then why does it change in stratosphere? वहाँ पे क्यों बढ़ जाती है? There is a completely different reason for that. Chemical reactions, radiation, and a lot of things come into play, because of which stratosphere has higher temperature with increase in elevation. Okay. Anyway, so after these 4 slides, let me go to the next part, that is lithosphere. We have been talking about atmosphere. Let's talk about lithosphere, which is the solid part of our surrounding. So you can see the atmosphere is also drawn in a very small scale here. So we have crust. Crust is the part which is the soil. It also has rocks and everything. Upper mantle, mantle, outer core, inner core. So these are the parts of the lithosphere. So it's like a semi-liquid material on which this solid crust is floating. Okay, on which this solid crust is floating, and it has soil is in powder form. It also has various rocks. Okay. So this is about lithosphere. The definition and all the other information is given. You can go through it by yourself later. Hydrosphere is the liquid part, that is your water. All the water resources are together called hydrosphere. Earth has a total water coverage of 70.8%. So only 30% is land, the rest is water. And still we keep struggling for water. This is something you know. Any of you can give me some reasons also why that. But the thing is, this is also a very, very big environmental concern. Because if water is not available, plants won't grow. If the plants won't grow, then again it becomes difficult for us to fight climate change. So even though we have so much water, why can't we use them? So a lot of water is seawater, and seawater cannot be used. This is one big problem. Seawater has to be refined because it contains salt, and we cannot consume salty water. Yes, fresh water is less. That is one big issue. So the source of fresh water is lakes, ponds, and rivers, right? Even if you think about your Ahmedabad, the funny part is it has a river and it has a canal. Canal is a small part of a river, right? The canal comes from Narmada. So the canal supplies water to the river just to make sure that the Sabarmati waterfront looks like a waterfront. It is being supplied water from a canal. It's a छोटे भाई बड़े भाई को खाना खिला रहा है. It's something like that. So why does that happen? Uh, it depends. It depends on a lot. A lot of the things depend on the topography also. If you look into the Sabarmati river's slope from its origin to its final destination, the slope is not that much. Slope is very less. That is why at many locations water has dried up, and the source of water is also not very constant. So that is why it has happened like this. Uh, and if you go to northeast India or eastern India, the rivers are so big that you won't be able to see the other bank of the river from a certain bank. If you stand on the right bank, you won't be able to see the left bank. It's that big. The rivers are very wide. It rains all the time, and that's why it's called humid climate. Right? You people live in semi-arid climate. It's not arid. Arid is where is the desert region. This is the semi-arid. So this region faces a lot of issue. Luckily, we have this canal here in Ahmedabad, and as far as I know, this canal is the largest source of water for the whole city. Am I correct, or are there some other similar large sources of water? Can anyone tell me? For Ahmedabad, is Narmada Canal the largest source of water for the people here, or do we have some other sources? Okay, groundwater. So groundwater is not available for, yeah, groundwater is an option, but then again, you know that ground usage of too much groundwater is again a problem. You may think about it, why that is an issue, because we are not drawing water from the upper crust of the earth. That is obviously going to be dirty. So we dig very deep into the rocky layers, and from there we bring out water. So that also has that also is a that is a non kind of a non-renewable resource, because those sources of water doesn't get replenished, or even if it gets replenished, it doesn't happen so quickly as we draw water out of it. So it's going to end. It's going to finish at some point. So that's an issue. Okay. So these are the few points about hydrosphere. Earth's water. So fresh water is 3%. Saline water is 97%. This is one thing. Out of fresh water, groundwater is 30.1%. Surface water is only 0.3%. So that might make you think that okay, no, it's a mistake. Sorry. So other surface water. Okay, yeah, that's correct. Surface water is 0.3%. So rivers and lakes and ponds contribute to 0.3%, whereas groundwater is 30.1%. So that is one reason why groundwater is drawn so much. But in those locations where surface water is less available and we continuously depend on groundwater, the issue is surface water can be replenished every year. Groundwater doesn't happen. That is not the case with groundwater. So that is why at some point you won't get much groundwater. This is an issue. Okay. Now, after groundwater, there are ice caps and glaciers. Obviously, you are not using ice caps and glaciers for consuming water. Now, the surface water, this small 0.3% of surface water is divided into these parts. The lakes have 87% of water. The rivers have 2% of water. Swamps have 11% of water. So we are mostly dependent on lakes and rivers. So the most commonly used sources of water are lakes and rivers. And if you look into it, it is just 3% of the total Earth's water. And out of those 3%, surface water is only 0.3%. And out of those 0.3%, this is the distribution of the water. Okay. Now, for 28, they're asking what is the problem with desalination of ocean for fresh water? It's a costly process. And the amount of money that you spend for, uh, you know, uh, filtering the water when you take it out of a lake or river, that itself requires some effort. But desalination is an even difficult process, time consuming and costly. That's true. So for one option to conserve water is rainwater harvesting, and you all know about it. It is this and how we can do this. One of those informations. So those locations like here in Gujarat, I believe rainwater harvesting is very important because you do not have rains all over the year, right? Lastly, we have biosphere. So biosphere is the life that exists on the planet. So a part of it is in water, some of it in air, some of it under the soil, some of it is over the soil. Animals and trees are over the soil. There are many animals and plants and insects, not plants, animals and insects which live under the soil, under the surface. So present scenario of environment. Excess consumption of natural resources is one issue. Environmental resources, natural resources are consumed at a very fast pace compared to the pace at which it is replenished or it is recovered. So we plant trees and we cut trees as well. A full-grown tree is cut in a matter of minutes, hours, or days. But for that tree to grow to that size, it takes a lot of years. So from that angle, if it is looked into, then we are not actually replacing the uh, chopped down trees with new trees that quickly. So excessive consumption of natural resources, high resource demand. We have the population of this country is so much that the population of whole world has reached to more than 6 billion. I think it's already 7 billion. I don't know. So the demand for resources is also increasing. Now, the more technological savvy we are becoming, more we are relying on technology, we require more and more energy, right? So where from does this energy come? Is it coming in a clean way or not? That is a big concern for this. We are not going to compromise with the less use of energy. Then again, we don't think about how this energy comes to our households, right? Scenario in India, obviously, population explosion, water pollution. There are a lot of stories out there. I told about the Yamuna River, industrial waste that is being deposited on the Yamuna River, all about it. So there are many such examples. Even if you look into Ahmedabad, Sabarmati River is actually polluted. Discharge of industrial waste with high organic content in the river water. So I will not go through these points so quickly. There are some points to discuss here. So we'll start about this scenario of environment in India. We'll start with this point in the next week. Okay? So that will be also good. You can leave the meeting now. Do you have anything to ask me? If not, you can leave the meeting now. That will be all. Right.
Sir, can we leave? We have another classes.
Yeah, sure. You can.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.